Hey guys, it's Al back for Altruistic Channel, and I just wanted to share something that was kind of amusing. So I mentioned in an earlier recording, I guess, that ever since I had kind of discovered the collective consciousness and ascension and so forth, that things had started to kind of come together really, really quickly. And I tend to manifest things in live time, meaning like right away. But I'd never come across something until I believe it was this morning, or well, actually, technically yesterday. And I had never come across it before, and I found it fascinating that it was the first time. But it was a categorization, another title, which I hate, but it served a good purpose in this case. So after the breakup of my partner and I, even though it wasn't necessarily a relationship, but in the way that you would conventionally think of it, but nevertheless, it was an ending. And I started to get these messages to like check with psychics because psychics have played a part in my life. And I kind of started to go like, well, where the hell? Oh, I know. Well, I'm on YouTube. Let me go to YouTube. And so I went to YouTube. And sure enough, last month was going to be hell on earth, and it was right. And so I was kind of looking at it from the perspective of behind. Oh, sorry. Hello. I was looking at it from the perspective of having gone through it, and now at the very end of it, understanding the purpose and so forth. But it was talking about everybody keeps talking to me in the Cancer that basically ascension, that we have ascended, that some of us in the Cancer sign have ascended, and specifically that the Divine Mother is now very much going to give us everything that we've manifested. So, sure enough, I was still a little bit frustrated, honestly, with the fact that I didn't feel that I was conforming to what ascension was in my head, which is, all these people walking around going, oh, kumbaya, the world is great, I feel great, and I don't feel that. And so I was feeling, again, isolated, and lo and behold, something came across my desk, which is something called the Indigo Children and the Crystal Children. Here's the thing. I grew up with a mother who was very spiritual. She was also quite brilliant, and I'm assuming she was one of the Indigo Children herself, because I never understood that I was any different until I got to, I think just junior high. I always felt special, and she made sure that I always felt special, but it was kind of like one of those things that she was able to convey that it was between me and her, and it would sound very pompous or very self-absorbent. And so I never really thought about it. But as I got older, I really encountered a lot of issues as a result. And I never really thought that there was an actual name for it because I had started to quest online, if you will, because I felt special. And I kept hearing that thing, you're the youngest of nine. And I had no idea what the fuck that meant. But I knew that I was here for a reason. And I knew that everything around me, everything that happened in my life was on purpose. And I didn't know how I knew that. And so I was just a weird person. And I felt crazy and stuff like that. And remember, all of this began, my life purpose in the use of YouTube and all of the mediums that I'm going through to reach the leaders of tomorrow began because of a connection I had to autistic community. And lo and behold, I'm reading the synopsis, essentially, of the Indigo Children, Crystal Children, and Rainbow Children. I hate the names. I'm going to say that right now. But I give them kudos because I had long since thought that because I was an INTJ personality, that was kind of that kind of explained everything, but it didn't. Like, I didn't understand why I was still angry, and I didn't understand why I still had a short fuse. And no matter how spiritually evolved I still feel like I need to stand and be firm on certain things. And lo and behold, is the whole thing today. I'm trying to get to work, but lo and behold, I better do this. I got to a point where I could not look at the education system without freaking the fuck out. And I'm not nice about it. And I've been crying for education reform for a long time because I was considered a special needs child because I was gifted. Well, hello, there's the fucking definition of the children we're talking about. But there was a stigma attached to it, I believe, when I first heard about it when I was younger. And it was that basically people with ADHD or parents that couldn't control their kids were calling them crystal children or, the indigo. But what I failed to realize is that that's not necessarily fair. It's just like you can't persecute the entire nation for being drug addicted, like on heroin or methamphetamine or pot, when you sedate the children with Ritalin and with like all these more dangerous medications. It's kind of like that thing. So I failed to realize that when they were branding that incorrectly and just using that as a means to basically say, shame on you, mommy and daddy, which I felt for myself recently, actually, in a post about blaming mom and dad, I probably should have thought about it a little bit more in depth because I, as a gifted student, dropped out. I think I dropped out by the time I was 13. I was bored out of my fucking mind, again, identical to what is believed to be the children. The negativity, however, comes in that I'm not a crystal child. I'm not meant to be here as a crystal child. I'm not meant to be here as a rainbow child. I'm here as an indigo. And what that basically means is I'm a fighter, and I'm going to fight for equality. I cannot stand hypocrisy. It drives me up the fucking wall. And if you want me to throw down like a man's man, be hypocrite to me. I don't fucking care who you are. It's gonna be the last thing you fucking do. And I never understood where that came from because it's not like I'm a big pious person. Like I'm like, oh, I'm so much better. I'm not. But I did know that I was different, and I did know that I was special. And so I started to kind of wonder about it, and here I am. I've actually found that I belong to something called the Indigo. But the thing is, now I'm an Indigo adult, and I'm probably one of the first waves. I was born in 1978. And apparently it's very rare for Indigo children to become Indigo adults, and I can believe it. They're right. You go through addiction and you try to destroy your life. Honestly, you feel the pain of the world and you have no idea what your life mission is. And you're constantly searching for this. And you're feeling weird and you're inadequate and you don't belong to this group and you don't belong to that group. And you're isolated all the time. And you independently think on all things all the time. So where I thought that it was an INTJ thing specifically about me being strategic, it's not. I think it has to do with all layers of all things. But having said that, as someone who has grown up as an indigo child, if that is in fact what I am, I don't believe anything until I know it for a fact, and since I'm not going to know it for a fact, it's all assumptive, right? So I'm not saying that I know anything. I'm just saying that it does seem to fit in line with my character. Like I was the first one. Like if you told me to do something, I'd look at you and be like, "Fuck you!" Like I'm not doing that shit. I dropped out at 13. Like no one could tell me nothing. And my cousin's kind of the same way, so I'm assuming she's an indigo child too. But it's kind of funny that, ADHD is the problem. No, asshole, you're giving your kid caffeine. Or you're giving them Ritalin, just kind of making them a little wonky. Or it makes them have different energy spouts. That's just, things that shoot out at different times. You're going to be cranky if you can't be yourself. Let me put it to you this way. Every woman who's ever had her period and has not had access to anything to stop her bloating, and to stop the pain in her stomach, tell me that you can't understand what it must be like for a child who's being sedated and told that you can't be your energy source. You fucking know what that's like because you couldn't get to the stuff that helped your cramps. And so you had to sit there and endure the cramps every day of your life for that fucking week because someone told you that you had to. It doesn't work. So the caution I guess I'm trying to say here is that if you have an indigo child, I'm one of the few that I guess is talking openly about it. I really don't care about people's opinions. I never have. But it did make for a very isolated life. And there was a lot of drug addiction, and I wrote about it in my book, A Dual Purpose. And I have no shame on that. And if truth be told, I never say never. So I probably could do it again. When you feel the weight of the world, in order to make it from day to day, sometimes you have to make some sacrifices. And if it's me sacrificing my life in order to kind of maintain, which sounds counterintuitive, I did what I needed to do. I mean, it's the whole theory behind why we all medicate ourselves too much. It's because as things and energy changes and it gets spiraled into more and worse scenarios, wars break out and we see the injustice and the inequality across the globe and how women are treated still in third world. I sedated myself and I fucked off. And I don't regret it. But everything I've done has been by my hands. And it's always been me proving myself over and over again and never living up to my expectations. And if you have a child and you think that they're an indigo child, remember that part of the deal is that they are angry. We go to anger first. We're warriors. We're not here to be nice. In theory, we're God's messengers. We're here to deliver God's whatever it is. For me, I know that it has to do with leadership. It has to do with developing leaders and skill sets for us in the future. because something is not working right now. I mean, it's like somebody stepped on the anthill and every ant is losing their fucking shit. And no one wants to address it. Oh, you're just being paranoid. No, I'm being very practical and I'm looking right at it. I've always been able to see patterns. It's my gift. But one of the things that I understand is also what patterns indicate. And then I follow through and I go long term. What is it? I'm telling you, something is amiss and something is really fucked up. And we need to fix it quick. And I think it has to do with the time frame. And I kept saying that. And so I found my life purpose is to kind of address these things as on a global scale. It's not just about my believing in the collective conscious, because let's face it, half of you believe that there's a man in a cloud looking down on earth and it says, oh, you're going to be good. You're not going to be able to judge me on anything. And I'm not degrading your belief, because I actually find faith to be super important to the human condition. But as somebody who's not usually from, the belief that anybody is better than anybody else, I believe everyone is equal. And so with that mentality, I'm actually looking at it from a purified standpoint. So unless you were able to stand with me and look at me as a Christian and go, I'm at peace with God because I know he doesn't make mistakes, because that's the God I believe in. I would never say to anybody, you're an abomination, because that means that you're basically calling God a liar or an idiot. You're telling us that God can't be perfect. And yes, he fucking can. And if you don't believe in that, please invite me to the day that you pass away so that I can go and see what level of hell you're going to be sent to, because I would never speak on behalf of God. Having said that, I do speak on behalf of knowledge, and knowledge is something that's not right. And so as we change the world, I guess I'm one of the mouthpieces, and I just find that very hysterical. If you only knew the conversations I had with myself and some of the things that I think I'm going to do a segment on this actually is going to be called INTJ Say What? Because I say some amazing shit. Like the other day I looked at somebody and go, did you fucking just say something? And it was in front of like a whole bunch of guests at the restaurant. I don't fucking care. I can get fired tomorrow and be like, and what the fuck? Don't ever disrespect. And so that thing is very interesting. It's very ingrained into who I am. And as we move forward as indigo adults now, I wonder how many of us are we're part of the same wave. How many of you were born between 1976 and 1984? That's the wave I belong to. I don't know how I know that, but I know it's I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a generation in between two generations. There's a lot of us, but I just don't think that they made it. And if we can help the next wave, the crystal children, our followers, then let's help them. Let's help them understand that it's going to feel rough. And every time that something really bad happens, it's going to destroy more and more of their soul. They will go into the long journey into the soul over and over and over again. And we have to prepare them for that, because the world is changing. And in order for it to purify itself, there's a lot that needs to happen. And it's not always good. It's not lost on you at this point that there's something coming. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that it's coming. Because every ant in the hill is freaking out. Something's going on that's so distracting that they're allowing the monkey in the White House to distract us. So something big is happening. And instead of being, victims, let's be honest with each other and say, well, what do we do about it? A lot of us won't make it through. Okay. Who's making it through? Let's start looking at this from a strategy standpoint. Who do we need to get through here? What is the priority listing for whatever it is? And instead of looking at it as a downer, look at it for what it is. The world needs to become better. But that doesn't mean we're going to end. It doesn't mean that we're going to believe that it's all ending. That's stupid. It's not going to happen that way. But we need to engage a battle plan so that we have a general understanding. There's a lot of us that didn't make it this far of the first wave or the second wave, whichever I belong to. And that's sad. The suicide rate is so high right now, and I can't imagine why. It's not like that. It's obvious. So let's be proactive. But if you're an indigo child, or you have an indigo child, please understand this. They go to anger real fast. Everything about them has been told that they're wrong and that they're abomination, or they're in the autistic community and they have no way of outwardly communicating. That's why I think I'm so akin with them, is because I know them. I understand them because I am them. I'm part of that mission or whatever it is. And if I'm going to be their mouthpiece, then fucking goddamn it, I'm going to be their fucking mouthpiece. We don't need them to communicate with us. We need to communicate with them. These are brilliant beings, God's right-hand men and women that are here for a specific reason. Let's figure out why. That's it for Al on Altruistic Channel. That's what all I want to say. I got to get ready for work.